Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. As you can see, I'm joined in the studio by His Eminence, Hamish McLay of Search Convey, a guy who many of you know I spend a lot of time live streaming with in various different guises. Shameless plug, every Thursday, Property Quorum. On Friday, that's at 10 o'clock. On Friday at 3 o'clock, we have Cladding Matters, where we are highlighting the ever-evolving cladding disaster and how it is being responded to. We often have some great guests on both of those. Today's live stream is dedicated to IPSA, the Independent Property Search Association, which Hamish happens to be current chairman of. Now, the focus of IPSA is to talk about conveyancing, but from the point of view of working with people who have localized and hard-bitten and long-sought knowledge gained over years of relationship build, as opposed to perhaps some of those outfits who are one-size-fits-all, promise a lot, but don't necessarily have the knowledge or experience to perhaps get the job done quickly. And that's how it manifests, am I right, Hamish? It's the speed of response.
Well, very, very much so, because one of the great advantages that is held by working with a member from IPSA, we are not like many of the providers of the type of information that we're able to provide are actually part of large corporate entities, and therefore they will have a reception type response. And we know the call center sort of type of response. You won't be speaking to somebody who has knowledge of the type of information that you are in need of.
Quite
Um,
so.
so this is one of the great advantages. But I perhaps ought to explain just a couple of things. First of all, the whole intent of what we're broadcasting is to give an opportunity at least once a week, IPSA members to come along, and we can actually sort of share ideas between us. And just that brief reminder that it's not just us as individuals that are banging head against the wall in our localities throughout sort of England and Wales. So it's to enable us to come along, and I can't remember how many we've had on board, 8 or 10 different sort of people from IPSA already. We've had on, Gareth, haven't we? Because it is fairly new. We're fairly new with these particular sort of broadcasts, but it is rather good to get those ideas and thoughts from people. Do always email me, because most of you will have my email content if you're IPSA members. But we also like to be able to use this a bit of this podcast type of to actually be able to explain to others who are not familiar with the IPSA community, with IPSA searches, what it is we are doing for them. And since Gareth was giving plugs earlier, I should say this, because I do trust we've got some IPSA members out there. If they're not listening to it now, they perhaps just a brief reminder about what's going on Monday of next week, on the 16th. We do have 4 hours of IPSA information, one way or another. It's our online conference, if you like, to give a breakout, just to give some information. Some great stuff happening there. What we do have, we've got some excellent outside contributors. One of the greatest trainers that we have in the UK, from a solicitor perspective, we have Ian Quayle, telling us all sorts of interesting things and keeping us informed on some of those things that are going on in the background, of, if you like, conveyancing, because he is so knowledgeable. We've got Groundshaw speaking as well, great people speaking about environmental information. And that's always useful, because they will give us some updates. But we've also got some people speaking about if things go wrong, because very often in an environmental report, they're not always going to go through with total clarity. Some of you say, oh, you better have a look at this. That particular bunch of flats they're just building is on top of what used to be a petrol station, and they used to have massive fuel tanks. Do you think you better look at that? And of course, all it needs, of course, is a confirmation that the planning permission that they acquire in order to build meant total removal and eradication of any chance of any of this sort of that sort of product sort of getting through and in contaminating anything at all. So there is a need for that, and we've got to. What we have is a great, and I know the company well because I was working on a particular sort of property development, which in actual fact was subject to flooding, and I've already used that company. So they're speaking. There's obviously going to be, you have to put up with me, of course, as the chairman, for a brief sort of introduction.
Didn't they appear on Property Matters on a previous show?
Sorry?
They appeared on Property Matters on a previous show that we did together.
We haven't, funny enough, we haven't had Ashfield on before,
Really?
but we perhaps ought to, because they are very good. Because the thing is, people will often sort of think to themselves, "Oh wow, this is serious," and it isn't necessarily serious, because the advanced information that is actually sort of given can sometimes be sort of completely overturned and say absolutely no concern whatsoever. So it would be quite a good one when we perhaps when we start putting a few more of our podcasts together on property matters rather than on the cladding matters. I mean, it could well be, actually. It would suit what goes on with property quorum. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Yes. So big plug, but very important, because, as I said, there's some great stuff, and we'll get some information out. Most of you had the invites already, but it does actually demonstrate what we're doing. But
do you have a link for it, Hamish? I could literally put the link up on the screen if you want. If you'd send it over to me.
Did I have the link?
If it's not to hand, we can always add it in later. But I thought it might be a useful thing to give to people.
I did have it. I did copy it earlier because I was actually going to be saying, but I haven't quite got it. So we'll get back to it. We'll get back to that particular one. Getting back to local, what it is and what we're speaking to and what we're speaking about. This is one of the great thing about when we have our conferences, whether they be online, face to face. I think we all prefer, because that's meeting up with people. When we actually sort of get online, we've got people from all over England and Wales that actually support what goes on, and that was really what the main subject was about. I said to reinforce it for both our members, but also a way of letting those who are looking on, who don't know what the heck IPSA is or was or were. We did set up we'll actually be 20 years next year. We can actually carry out a 20-year celebration for the organisation. And all it was to do with a couple of local people who kept bumping into each other. I think we mentioned this. They kept bumping into each other when they were doing work at the local councils. And they came up with this idea, well, hang on, we both know the council well. We've been working with this locality. Why don't we actually sort of work as a team to do it? And I think this brings into mind another subject of cooperatives and corporates, the difference between the two of them, because they're different. What cooperatives do, what people cooperating do, they are helping each other out as well as helping out their client base. And I need to explain what I mean by corporates as well at some stage. But this was a great thing, and of course it grew and it grew, and sort of something like I came along, got involved a little bit sort of further on down the line than these other two people have been working together. And apparently it was just, they formed this particular, if you like, gathering, and two or three of them, then a few other people came along, and then IPSA sort of took over. And it took me a while to realize it's so easy to get immersed in the fact you're outside there on your own, and then you find out, good grief, there's all of these other people out there doing exactly the same thing. And to be able to speak and use their knowledge, share their experience, and more importantly, be able to get hold of them to carry out the work in a locality which is too far for you to travel, or a locality you don't know about, using that local knowledge.
Wow. Well, I think it's important to recognise that this local knowledge wasn't gained overnight. This is often through relationship builds, and even gamekeeper turned poachers, where they've been working within councils for years and then left and decided to create search or organizations up and down the country.
Well, that's absolutely great. And one of the significant advantages of that is the whole of the organisation that we have at IPSA and within its sort of membership, we can actually make use of that knowledge they've brought and certain things. And this will become part of the announcement that we're making on Monday of sort of next week. We do have some great moves sort of going forward that are going to benefit both current members and potential members who actually join forces. But it is the passing on, because somebody, if you like, I love that idea actually, Gareth, of gamekeeper come poacher, because we have sort of three seriously experienced people from land charges offices themselves, but others, particularly sort of working through this, some of them worked in planning. There's all sorts of different sort of things, different areas. So they bring that knowledge to the advantage of other members. So we have our own local knowledge, yet things are changing.
Right.
And they're always sort of changing to be able to sort of keep touch, because different councils start combining together. This is one of the big complications at the moment, because sometimes the information doesn't come through terribly quickly. It's a very sort of quiet thing, and nobody says, all of a sudden, three of your Bedfordshire councils have all combined together to become a unitary authority. Now, there's several complications with that. When you put together three different people throughout Bedfordshire, it's not one of the largest counties, but it's not that small either. However, when you put three councils together that distance apart and you put it into one authority, the people that are working in that authority do not know what necessarily goes on in those other council areas. However, that independent person who has been an IPSA member has been working with each of the individual councils. So they know each of the individual councils intimately. And therefore, when you do get that combination of the union and it becomes a unitary authority, you've still got that level of input that you previously had. They still know the locality. And it's happening. What it is, councils, as we well know, they're under pressure from the government, as well as pensioners who can't afford the heating. But no, that was unfair. I shouldn't have mentioned that, but it does get to me that it's an easy cause, isn't it? When you can actually sort of take money away from somebody else and give it to somebody that, well, no more of that subject. No more of that subject. Hamish, stop it. I do get sidetracked from time to time, and
I
being of an
think
age.
it's because we run these, and this is what I hope people enjoy as much as we do. We run these sessions as a conversation, not not reading off a script. We have a basic topic, we want to talk about it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't wander off piste from time to time. I love the fact that I know that other IPSA members do tune in from time to time and check out what we're talking about. And I would ask them, please feedback to Hamish if you want certain topics covered, or more importantly, if they want to appear, because I think this is a great way that IPSA can also point out to the public, because it's not just other IPSA members watching this. We have a good spread now. And because of the work we do in Property Quorum and on cladding matters, and dare I say it from time to time on property matters, we're getting an ever increasingly large and diverse audience. So I would say that we can co-opt some of that when we're talking about IPSA, not just so they understand the benefits of working with other IPSA members, but more importantly, understand why IPSA exists. What makes it so interesting? And I still champion the fact that the IPSA members I'm very pleased to say, come to actual contact with. Yes, I actually shook them warmly by the hand. I'm very pleased to say at a previous conference where I was there, they have welcomed me, which thank you for that, but B, are keen to tell stories and tell you about how things have worked and perhaps where they haven't worked as well as they should, to laugh and discuss. And I think I welcome that. And I think that's partly what this is channel about. It's kind of community. But I guess Hamish and I need to know What are the things you feel need highlighting, not just the other IPSA members, but to the general public?
So right. I mean, I think this is a great. We have a great opportunity, which is why I wanted to bring this one up as IPSA, if you like, because it really is. Although it is covering aspects, all sorts of aspects of conveyancing, it does reflect, if you like, that great thing that we have. Although we're widely spread throughout the country, we are working with people, throughout Wales and throughout England, whether it be north, south, east, west, or even pretty more Wales central. Still trying to figure out how they consider sort of where I am to be the southeast. But there again, there are people that have greater knowledge than I that sort of, and some even with less knowledge than I that sort of come up with grand ideas, don't they?
Absolutely.
But yes, I mean, just on that, yet again, it will be good to see any of you who can come along collectively. We're coming out again, of course, this time sort of next week. Don't quite know what the title we're heading towards. Maybe some of you can suggest one. But certainly Monday of next week, and we kick off at 10 o'clock. You've had some information. You don't need to be there all the time. You can jump in, you can jump out. But particularly at the 12:15 time, that's when Ian Quayle comes on board. Some fascinating information, which is great for you, which is important because you're supporting people out there in the world of conveyancing. And this is where Ian is such an expert. And like Gareth was saying, one of the great things about, whilst we can actually communicate quite effectively the way we are on podcasts, a tremendous way of doing it, particularly from a conversational perspective, which is what Gareth and I do, try and keep it in that direction. But it's great to be able to sort of meet, and I've met up with Ian on several occasions. He's spoken. He's even actually joined us at IPSA meeting in the past. So fascinating information, and it's really good to keep up to speed. And he's a guy that can help us do it.
All right. Well, look, all that remains for me to say is to thank you, Hamish, for taking part with me today in IPSA Kind of Magic. I carry on ringing out that clarion call to other IPSA members. Please take advantage of this. This is for you to talk to other IPSA members and the rest of the viewing public. And our viewing figures are ever increasing. So please do come along. Not so much to state your claim, but to give us stories. Talk about what actually happens, what people believe, but what actually is going on behind the scenes. I think it's a great opportunity to do so. Until next week, but of course we still have Property Quorum at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and we've got Cladding Matters on Friday at 3 o'clock. So until then, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.